This is the SERWALL black folding Adirondack chair, and it quietly solved two problems for me at once. It gives me a place I actually want to sit for a long stretch, and when I am done, it folds down and disappears without demanding storage space I do not have. I would put this in the relaxed outdoor seating category, the kind of chair you use on a porch, a patio, a small balcony next to a fire pit, or by the pool after a swim. It is for people who want that laid-back Adirondack posture without babysitting real wood, and for anyone who needs a dependable chair that feels sturdy but can still tuck away for the off-season. If you bounce between different spots in your yard the way I do, this hits a sweet spot of comfort, durability, and portability. The design is classic Adirondack with a practical twist. The finish is a deep matte black that reads clean and modern, but it still keeps that timeless profile. The material is high impact polystyrene, so it looks like painted wood from a couple steps away, but there are no splinters and no rough edges. The slats on the seat and backrest have just enough spacing to let rain move through instead of pooling. The arms are legitimately wide, the kind of wide that actually supports a forearm and a book or a phone at the same time. The back has a gentle curve that lines up with my shoulder blades, and the seat has that scoop that holds you without cutting into the back of your legs. The hinge and fasteners feel overbuilt compared to most folding outdoor chairs I have tried. Nothing rattles, nothing feels wobbly when I shift my weight. The folding mechanism is the headline feature for me because it changes how I use the chair day to day. I can grab it with one hand, walk it from the porch to the lawn, set it down, and it just opens with a confident single motion. Folded up, it is flat enough to lean against a garage wall behind rakes and still leave room for a bicycle. I have a narrow outdoor storage closet, and it slides right in beside a toolbox without a fight. The balance is right too. It is not feather light, which I appreciate because it does not scoot in a gust, but it is easy enough to carry without effort. Setup was refreshingly simple. Out of the box, I had to tighten a few screws and marry a couple of panels. It took me about 15 minutes going at a casual pace. There were no mystery steps or alignment games. Everything lined up where it should, and the holes were clean. I did a second pass to snug the screws after a couple of sits, and that was it. No creaks, no clicks, and no uneven legs. If you have assembled flat pack furniture before, this will feel easier. Comfort is where this chair earns its keep. I am sensitive to chairs that look good in photos but punish your lower back after 10 minutes. With this one, the recline angle feels dialed in. I can settle and let my shoulders drop, and the pressure disappears from my lower spine. The seat sits low, the way an Adirondack should, so you end up feeling rooted instead of perched. The arm height is natural for resting a drink or a book. If you are on the shorter side, you may prefer a small cushion behind your lower back for that extra bit of support, but I have been fine as is. Getting out of it takes a beat because of the low seat, so if you have knee issues, it is something to think about. Once I found my rhythm, it was a non-issue. Durability has been solid in my use. The surface is smooth and dense, so it handles elbows, rings, and the occasional scuff from a cooler without scars. I left it out through a stretch of hot sun and a night of steady rain. The color stayed even, there was no chalky haze, and there was no swelling or warping. Water beads and runs off those slats, which means the seat is not a puddle when you come back to it. The material does not feel like it will fade quickly under ultraviolet light, and according to the manufacturer, it is built to resist splitting, cracking, peeling, or rotting. I cannot fast forward a few years, but early signs are encouraging. The black finish will show pollen and dust sooner than a lighter color, but it wipes clean with a damp cloth in a few seconds. Weight support is not a worry here. The chair is rated to handle about 380 pounds, and the frame feels up to that promise when I shift or lean. The arms are wide at about 22 inches, which helps if you like to tuck a throw over one side or you just want a comfortable perch for your forearm. The hardware that ties everything together feels tight and deliberate. After several moves around the yard, the hinge has not loosened. If anything, it was slightly stiff on day one and then smoothed out after a handful of folds. Here is what my real use looked like. I started on the porch with a coffee in the morning. The seat sits low and leans just enough that I ended up staying longer than I planned, which is not something I say about most outdoor chairs. That same afternoon, I carried it to the fire pit. The ground there is not perfectly level, but the legs settled without a wobble. I sat with a blanket and did not feel pressure points, even on a longer sit. On a rainy day, I left it outside on purpose. The next morning, I tipped it forward. A little water ran off the back slats, and it was ready to use almost immediately. Later, I used it next to a small inflatable pool. Wet swimsuits, sunscreen slick, all of it. A quick wipe brought it back to clean. My favorite test was a lazy weekend reading session that stretched past an hour. My lower back never complained, and the arm was wide enough to park the book between chapters. A specific use case that keeps coming up for me is extra seating when friends stop by. I keep this folded near the door to the patio. When I need it, it opens in a heartbeat and looks like it belongs next to my heavier wood pieces. At the end of the night, I fold it and lean it behind a storage shelf. For small spaces or for renters who cannot dedicate a corner of the deck to permanent furniture, that matters more than any catalog photo. There are some thoughtful touches that make a difference. The edges are rounded, so there are no sharp corners against your calves. The finish has enough texture to feel like a real piece of furniture, but not so much that it traps dirt. The slatted design is not just for looks. It sheds rain, lets heat escape on hot days, and keeps the seat from sticking to the back of your legs. The chair does a better job at staying put in wind than most plastic outdoor chairs I have owned. It is not heavy, but it is planted. I have also noticed the color retention is strong. Under direct afternoon sun, the black still looks rich, not washed out. The maintenance routine is basically non-existent. I wipe it with a damp cloth or a mild soapy sponge, and it is done. There are a couple of quirks to keep in mind. The initial fold and unfold motion was a touch stiff until it broke in. It was not hard, just deliberate. The black finish looks great, but it will announce pollen season, so expect to wipe it down now and then. The classic Adirondack recline is designed for relaxing, not for pulling up to a dining table. If you want to sit upright at a table, this angle is not the right match. And because the seat is low, getting up requires a small push off the arms. That is part of the design, but it is worth noting if mobility is a concern. Overall, the SERWALL black folding Adirondack chair has turned into the chair I reach for first. It feels solid without being stubborn to move. It shrugs off weather, and it avoids the maintenance dance that real wood demands. I do not have to pamper it, and that makes me more likely to use it every day. If you want a reliable outdoor chair that you can leave outside without worry, carry with one hand from one corner of the yard to another, and fold flat when the season ends, this fits the brief. If you are after a totally upright dining chair or the patina of natural wood, this is not that. For everything else, especially relaxed afternoons, this is the right kind of simple. If you want to see more honest, hands-on reviews like this, hit subscribe, drop your questions or your own experience with this chair in the comments, and I will get back to you. Thank you for watching.